There we go. Had to tap in. I forgot. I was at the grocery store last night trying to just get a couple of things, and I forgot crucial coffee creamer. You know, I've been a big fan of that Coffee Mate stuff, which I know is like toxic or whatever, but you get into it, and I've always looked for a replacement, some sort of powdered milk or something like that. But again, all of these things have so many different crazy chemicals in them. Ideally it's go Jack Reacher mode and just do black coffee, but it's so bitter. Have never been able to get that far. Oh, delicious. All right. But in any event, I had to break into one of the long life buckets because I know they all have whey milk in them, and I don't even know what whey milk really is, but it's doing the trick. It's got a different sort of taste to it, a different aroma, but I'm not a picky coffee guy. I just want the caffeine, I want the flavor, I want the aroma. Oh, and then I'm good to go. But yeah, winds of change. I know I've mentioned it plenty of times on the podcast, but the wise words told to me before setting sail. Excuse me. Setting Sail Around the World by Richard Hoken, owner of the Bitter End Yacht Club. Fantastic place for sailing. The winds will always change. Always remember that. Just got to make it to that shift. And I've been trying to utilize that thinking and keep my brain active and do all the sort of things. I mean, I've done so many of these podcasts now that I haven't been uploading because I'm kind of like, man, I can't keep the positivity there. I can't keep the forethinking and all that sort of stuff. And it is what it is. It's one of those things where if you don't see the end of the tunnel, you don't see the light. It's so easy to get lost. And, losing your way is one of the more difficult sort of things, I think, to cope with and deal with. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those things where I've been just on this boat and I'm kind of like, okay, well, let's check today. And it has been like Groundhog's Day for sure. You wake up with the sun and you go check the water. Water level's not great, but maybe it'll be better this afternoon. And you meet with Rob and then you get a game plan and then nothing happens and nothing changes and you're still there. And, there's other things out there waiting. Could be done, could be happening. Gosh almighty, who knows? Might end up just dunking in the water here and basing out of here if I can't actually get out. I don't really know. This whole next week, if I'm here in the boatyard, then I'm going to track down wherever I'm going to end up. Try and get a reservation somewhere down south to set up the boat and everything like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be kind of crazy. This is where I start to go off into the weeds a little, and I'm trying to talk of change. Well, let's be a little more productive. Let's not let me go off the rails here, and let's talk about what I am doing to get this boat, how I am poised and ready for an actual launch. Like if all of a sudden there's a knock on the hull and it says, okay, hey, we're looking good with the water. Let's get you in. Already I have about a quarter or a fifth of a gallon, the last remnants of the bottom paint, down sitting right next to the hull. I have 2 rubber gloves, and I have a roller, and I have a brush. So just in case I need all of those to be able to paint out some of the squares and things like that. And you might say, well, why didn't you just move the stands? I'm not, I've never been, I go by Murphy's rule of, the bottom's the bottom. Don't worry too much about it. Unless you're a race boat or something like that, it's all going to come out the same. And don't waste your time, money, and effort trying to do something that's really not going to be that effective. And I agree. Not because I'm a lazy man, but because I don't like wasting my time. All evidence to the contrary these days. But yeah, so I have that ready to go right now because it is pretty chilly, and I want to make sure that I've got a really good quick start without any issues as far as the engine. I got the heater on, going to get that engine up to some semblance of temperature. You know, if I can get the engine up to about 70, 80 degrees, well, let's call it 70 by the oil pan, then we're in a pretty good spot to just fire that beast right up. No problems. I know in the past I've actually stuck a hose in here and run the engine on the hard, moments before, or like an hour before I'm supposed to slot to go in. This one's a little more difficult because we just don't know what time that'll actually be. Talk to Jim Chief up in Rockland, Maine yesterday a little bit, and he was pretty surprised about the situation and stuff. And I let him know it's a great yard, and we're just kind of in this extenuating little circumstance here where for the whole time I've been here, which is closing in on a month, we've only seen wind from the east once, twice, one weekend. That was about it. And so, he's used to that 10-foot tidal drop up there in Rockland that you can set your watch to. And it's sort of like, all right, well, high tide's then, and that's when we're going to be able to do it and all that sort of stuff. But it's good to chat with him. He's headed down to Florida. Shout out to Chief. Maybe we'll be seeing him this summer. Get the old Sparrow back up to her stomping grounds up in Maine for a nice little bit of refit and work and all that sort of stuff. And then, I don't know. We'll just have to sort of see what happens. But other than that, the boat is clean. The water tanks are full, but I am thinking, so we've got 70 gallons of water. Let's just do a little math here real quick. 70 times 8, because I believe 1 gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. That's 560 pounds. I don't know how much that really is going to affect the water line on Mighty Sparrow. I mean, if it was going to be inches, then I would say, oh, well, maybe we ought to do something about that. But I don't know. Maybe it will be. If it's going to get tight, there's no reason not to just turn on all the faucets and tie off to the bulkhead and fill back up. So that actually might be something I end up doing. We're not fully fueled, but we're pretty darn close. That one, was just, I had the time, and before I wasn't even thinking about it, but I'm not going to siphon out the fuel out of this boat. I don't have the cans. I've always been highly against throwing, jerry cans up and tying them off to the lifelines and stuff like that, especially for offshore passage. If you're cruising the intracoastal, then yeah, definitely it's nice to not have to constantly stop for fuel. But where I'm going, I don't need that, and I don't want it. I don't want the risk of anything breaking free. I don't want the inevitable diesel drip leak coming down the side, and it's not something Old Sparrow needs. I get a pretty darn good range if I fuel all the way up. And plus, never in a hurry. I'm just cruising. Everything else is clean, tidy. I have not provisioned, as you might have heard on other podcasts previous to this, just because I can't use the refrigerator. So I'm still on kind of essentially camping food. But if we don't go in today or tomorrow, then I gotta grab the fridge from old James Hodge one last time so that I can at least keep some things cold, and then we'll sort of go from there. But yeah, other than that, there's just not a whole lot. Sails are on the boat, covers are on the sails, Dodger's up, spray skirts are up, throwable life ring is attached, the EPIRB is tested and works. The emergency grab bag is good to go. The life raft is good to go. Yeah, we're pretty much poised and ready for a little bit of offshore sailing. The weather forecast looks great. I got the card for the Iridium Go to the tune of like $700 or whatever. Holy cow, or 600 something. Man, if I don't get to use this one, because I bought one previous too, if I don't get to use this one either, I'm gonna be I'm gonna stop buying these things until like the day before I leave. Jeez Louise. But yeah. So we're looking pretty good. All systems have been checked, double checked, triple checked. Probably go through another systems check today. All the lights work, everything. The only thing that I keep looking at that I haven't done yet, which I might figure out a way to do, is I was able to clean the underside of the spreaders, which had a little green, kind of the growth, so to speak, of just being sat here for so long. And I was able to get the first couple of feet, but there's like a 1.5 feet on either end, but I can't quite reach it. So I gotta go up there and harness off or something like that so I can take a good hot minute and clean those all up, because I know I definitely don't want to be staring at that when I'm out at sea. Yeah, other than that, little things here and there, little improvements, little replacements, all these little projects that I've tried my best to sort of keep my mind busy and all that sort of stuff. So that's been sort of the mainstay, I think, for this past couple of weeks, which will soon be 3 weeks of expecting and waiting. It's just been to just keep doing projects, keep making a list, go through the day, try and compartmentalize what I do during the day so that I'm not just sitting and stewing. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and a lot of streaming stuff where I'm just listening to it so I can keep kind of going and cleaning and all that. And I don't know. That's definitely helped for sure. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like being out on a boat in the doldrums, where you're just flat becalmed, except it's just not the most beautiful view in the world like the doldrums can be. I mean, the doldrums are striking. Those giant cumulonimbus clouds, the flat water, the sunsets, sunrises. The boatyard's pretty nice, but I'm so far deep in this thing, you can't really even see the water from the boat, and that's not great. That is not a great view. So, in any event, I am going to take another scope, take another look-see at the water, and see if it's at all coming in as those winds feel like they're changing even more. It's supposed to swing around more out of the east, which will be our big opportunity. And keep this ball of positivity rolling. Hopefully we actually get in the water. I doubt we're going to get out, but if we get into the water, we tie off to the dock, to the bulkhead, then there's a lot of stuff we can start messing around with. And we can also provision, and we are just a couple inches away we're about a foot away from being able to just get the heck out of here and go sailing. So I'm pretty excited about it, and we're going to touch base again later on today when we know our decision. So hopefully the second half of this podcast is going to be from Mighty Sparrow, but floating on the water. Oh boy, that would be super, super nice. All right, so check back in a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are just a hair underneath 1 p.m., and I just went and checked the water level, and it's looking amazing. It's looking huge. It's looking clear, clean, easy launch. Shouldn't be too much of a headache. I've emptied out my water tanks, and just in preparation. We got spot for me on the bulkhead, so basically in about 20 minutes or so, I'm going to head on down, see if I can track down Rob and get this ball rolling. But I think barring some crazy drop in the water in the next hour, I think we're good. I think we're going to launch. I think we're going to splash this baby, and we're going to go tie off. We're going to be able to test all the systems, and yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling we might be not only taking step 1, but step 2, 3, and 4 to get us back out on that ocean and salvage some of this off time that we have for the next month and a half. So I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, like I said, but I've done my prep work. I've got the lines on. Heater's still on the engine. The engine room's like 80 degrees now, so we should be good there. Yeah, essentially we're looking really good. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous. I got not nervous about launching the boat because that's a pretty simple sort of thing. But nervous about anything coming up that all of a sudden we're not able to do this for one reason or another. I can't imagine anything coming up. I mean, it's like perfect. It's sunny, it's windy, but moreover, the water level is up. So hopefully the next bit of this podcast will be a floating cocktail hour show, which will be absolutely amazing if it actually happens. If it doesn't happen, well, I don't even want to delve into that because who knows. But yeah, we're going to check back in hopefully just 3 or 4 hours from now, tied off to the dock, but we will see. So hold fast. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure, my overwhelming exuberance at this moment to invite you aboard the mighty Sparrow. Now, this time, you don't have to climb a ladder. You can just step right from the pier onto the deck because, yes, in fact, after all these days, after 19 days of waiting, we are floating. Finally. Cheers to that. Cheers to everyone who helped support me through this trial, through this time of perseverance, frustration, all that sort of stuff. Big thanks to the team here at TJ's Boatyard and Marina. Fantastic. I mean, end of the day, I was the last boat to go in, the only boat to go in today, actually. And the water level, thank you to Mother Nature for just perfect. I couldn't believe it. It was great. Came up, and it didn't just come up like a normal couple of inches, and then we could try. It came up like 1.5 feet or something. I mean, had Sparrow been in the water, even just a few months ago, we would have basically launched and hightailed it for an anchorage outside of Belhaven, just to get out of the creek and everything like that. But having not run the engine for all that long and being out of the water for, I counted it 20 months. 20 months. Not the wisest decision to drop a boat in and just go for it. It really, stay a little close. Stay within spitting distance of that lift. Because, hey, who knows what might happen. I'm looking at the water levels in the bilge. They're basically staying right where they need to be. I need to really dive in. When you launch a vessel, especially after it's been out of the water for quite some time, there's a lot of drying and shrinking and all that sort of stuff that only being dropped back in the water will truly seal up. And Sparrow is no exception, especially on these older boats. But went around, did the due diligence. You hop as soon as the boat's in the water and you can get aboard. Before the slings are off or anything like that, you're checking all the through holes, make sure nothing's leaking. You're looking for water coming in the stuffing box, up in the head, in the bilge, all that sort of stuff. And I pretty much didn't see anything abnormal by any means. But it's a quick look because, obviously you can't spend an hour checking every last little thing and exercising all the seacocks and stuff like that. But so you do your once over, you fire up the engine. Sparrow's engine fired up immediately. Oh, and it sounded good. I did have one query though. Just before, once we were going to pull the trigger and started warming the machines up, I was like, well, let me just go back up in there and do one last engine check, because it had been a few days, or actually it had been a couple of weeks since I fired it up. And the coolant for the radiator, or not radiator, but basically, you've got the raw water system, but then you've got the internal cooling and coolant and stuff. That was really low, and I don't know why, and I can't remember if I looked at that before or not. Either way, it was I was like, holy smokes. But luckily they have a nice little chandlery here. Obviously they have all the stuff you need. Was able to go grab some filler up. So I'm going to have to dive into that. I got to see if there's a leaky pipe or something like that. I didn't notice normally with that, because it's either the internal stuff is typically green in color, and then when you winterize things, that's where you're using the red or pink, especially in the raw water stuff, because that's going to get blown back out into the water once you fire up the engine. Having said that, I didn't see any indication that stuff had leaked into the bilge or anything like that. So kind of interesting, but I'm going to check it out. I've got a gallon of that stuff, and it's the 50-50. So, you mix it with water. So 1 gallon's actually 2 gallons, but yeah, crazy. We're floating. We're tied off. It feels amazing. We're definitely listing to starboard. So I'm going to have to do some maneuvering. And I think I know exactly what I want to do. Plus we're definitely a little bit bow heavy, which is a little shocking to me. But we'll be able to sort that all out. It's nothing to a disgusting degree by any means. And there is a little bit of wind sort of pushing us that direction. So it'll be interesting when we get to our dead flat calm patch coming up here. But yeah, now it's like this whole new, thing. Oh my gosh. I was getting desperate. I was getting to the edge. I was starting to question the reality of what am I doing here? Why? What am I? I'm just wasting so much time. And even though I was, still slowly chipping away at things and doing stuff, it's really cold and there's a whole lot of stuff that you can't really do. But at the same time, I kept sort of thinking, well, hold the phone. If I don't go in and we just keep the boat out of the water for the rest of this winter into like March, April, May, and then I splash it in June, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is going to really kind of go to waste, because I'm just going to have to redo it. And then I started thinking about oh my gosh, well, if I want to, I got to take all this stuff apart and this, that, and the other thing. And I was getting to the to the end of my rope, just questioning. It's an inevitable part of that process when you're trying. You've got your goal that you're set towards, but it's kind of out of your hands whether or not you can reach it. And holy man, I was just thinking, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think this is going to actually come together. And luckily it has, and we're and it was worth it. Now I'm feeling a huge amount of sort of vindication, I guess, or relief, moreover, that I stuck it out and I didn't quite give up, even though I definitely wanted to a few times. It just is one of those things where we'd just been out of the water for so darn long, and I'd always said that if I reach 2 months or 2 years and this boat's out of the water, it's time to sell it. That's way too much time, especially at this time in my life. 45 years old. Whew, that's 2 years If you just take into account, maybe, living getting to like 65, right? Which hopefully I will. I take care of myself and everything. But you never know, I suppose. But so that's 20 years from now. Well, 2 years out of the water, that's 10% of that. And that's not good. I can't, if the boat's going to sit there for that long, it might as well be in somebody else's. I'm not doing Mighty Sparrow any sort of plaudits, or I'm doing it a great disservice to having it just sit on the hard while it's under my command. So I'm glad we just squeaked out of that one 20 months. Cheers to that. Oh man. The funny thing is, I was feeling pretty much like I had, everything done and everything's ready. The list is checked off and all this sort of stuff. And now the minute I'm in the water, I'm like, oh, holy cow. Okay. Now we can tune the rig. We can get the mast all straightened out. I want to do this. I want to extend that. And I'm looking around thinking, holy cow, I got all this stuff I got to do. And, just for the last few days, I've just been kind of not super productive. And now, I got to go around and clean everything. I got the fridge going, which is awesome. It is already icing down stuff. I did have to do my little trick with the hot water. You basically boil some water in a little pan that then can fit inside of the cooling plate area, and do that, leave it in there for about 15 minutes, and then you turn it back on, and that pushes all the Freon back through the system into the compressor. At least that's what I'm told. And then you fire it back up, and it's icing down everything. So I didn't do a full provision shop yet. I'm probably going to try and do that tomorrow. But I did go get some eggs. I got some bacon. I have some bread, which I haven't had bread in a long time. And I'm going to make a Mondo breakfast sandwich tomorrow morning with bacon and everything. It's going to be amazing. I haven't had bacon the whole time I've been down here. I got some coffee creamer. I got a little pizza for tonight, a little celebratory action. Feeling pretty darn good. Like, it doesn't feel any different. Like, because this is such a protected little creek. Obviously, it doesn't feel like we're not still on the hard, but the fact that I can go up tonight and sit out on the cabin or the cabin trunk and stare off at the stars and watch the moon come up later on is fantastic. It's fantastic because I'm on the water. Oh man, I got the hiccups. Jeez Louise. But in any event, I wanted to stop again and just take a moment, do this podcast, and tell everybody that it has been excessively wonderful to receive all of the comments and all of the donations and everything. That it means the world to me that not only people actually listen to this stream of consciousness called the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, the trials and tribulations of Jerome, but also the fact that it's just you guys, you all are helping to sort of support and get this show back on the road. You think back to November 2022, and it was just another year, another adventure, and then just everything went absolutely pear-shaped. And then, it takes a long time sometimes to get back up on that horse, and we're still not back up on it by any means, but we're looking at that horse right now. We're about ready to climb back on, and I'm pretty darn excited to get back out there and feel the wind pushing this old girl around and feel the waves underneath the keel, even if it's just for a few weeks before making landfall again. But I would not be doing this without the support of this community that has continued to honor me with with sort of gifts and encouragement and all that sort of stuff. So I really, really do appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable to me. I never would have thought, we're closing in. This will be like episode 299 or something. No. I don't know exactly. I don't know what episode this one will be. But we're getting closing in on 300 episodes. This is a lot of time. That's a lot of years of doing this show and sort of bringing all of these events and experiences and trying to put them into as much of a cohesive sort of entertaining format as possible. I don't know. And to see everything sort of grow and to see the community and to be able to interact with quite a few of the Patreon members and also other people who are just friends of the show who go and email and all that sort of stuff. It's really been quite amazing. And obviously lots of friends and family members that are on that as well. Big shout out to all of you who sort of believe in what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to share. And I don't know, this life that I'm trying to lead that sometimes seems quite bleak and quite, questioning my life choices happens quite often. But right now I'm not questioning it. I'll tell you that much. After that launch, I am feeling pretty darn good. So big thanks once again. All I got to do now is go through my checks, look at the weather, see what sort of window we have. At the next opportunity to get out of this creek, I'm going to take it. Tomorrow, we're going to do a provisioning run, probably in the afternoon or in the morning, and then pay the yard bill and get on out of here. I traded maybe I shouldn't say what I traded, but let's just say I no longer am going to be all fend off any sharks that are trying to eat the rudder. But in any event, the guys here and gals, TJ, Crystal, Dawson, Rob, Boo, everybody has been fantastic. I can't thank you all enough. The TJ's Marina and Boatyard, and they're starting their new expansion now. Pretty soon they're going to have some more deep water action, and eventually they are going to be able to dredge here and all that sort of stuff. But they're working on putting a whole bunch of slips and doing a whole extension to the marina. It's a really great spot up here in Belhaven, and as nervous as I was to leave this boat here during 2 hurricane seasons, she definitely rode out the storms very, very well, and I was pretty happy to have her here. So that being said, it's time for me to turn on some tunes, turn the heater back on because it's going to get pretty cold tonight. Maybe fire up the engine. I don't know. I'm going to do some checks. I got to sit. I got to create another list. I got to start whipping through it. I'm going to get a decent night's sleep because it's going to be an early start. As soon as I get light, I'm going to tune the rig, get everything sorted up there. And hopefully, if I can get everything done and tomorrow afternoon the water levels go up and the forecast looks good, I'm going to go for the channel and start making my way down the old ICW, headed for the old open ocean. So that is the game plan. And I do want one last little shout out to Brett and Marissa. Brett sent me I think I mentioned it in the earlier parts, but he had pre-uploaded a message that arrived to me via text at 6 a.m. I obviously get up between like 4 and 5 in the morning. I'm a really early riser, but and he knows that. So, but yeah, the winds will always change, and how the winds can really change your outlook, and all of a sudden everything is a whole new ball game. So big thanks for that. I don't know if that was the tipping point that everything needed, but we are on our way. Thanks for listening. Thank you all for the support. Obviously, if you want to continue support, just check out the links in the description because they're all there. But more updates coming. Can't wait.